My name is Mario Villanueva, and today's presentation is going to be brought to you by 4.5.com. Couple notes before we begin. I do have everyone on mute so that we don't have any kind of distractions from the presentation. We are going to have time for answering questions after the presentation. You'll see on the GoToWebinar bar on the right-hand side, there's a chat feature. And so if you can submit your questions via the chat feature, then I promise we'll take as much time as we need to address those one by one once the presentation wraps up. And we do estimate that that's going to be around 45 minutes or so. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce John Bykowski, the VP of Operations for 4.5.com. I'm going to go ahead and make John the presenter.
My name is John Bykowski. I am the operations manager, VP of operations of 4.5, and I've been working with property managers for about 3 years now exclusively, and helping them get found on the internet. And that's what I want to talk about today. Just a second. There we go. Okay, so what I'm talking about today is marketing for property managers. We want you to get found, we want you to get contacted, and we want you to get the deal. If any one of these doesn't work out, you're wasting your time on the internet. But let me start off with a little something, a little side note first. I want to talk about metrics. If you're not measuring what you're doing on the internet, then you don't know what's going on. You may think you know what's going on, but you don't. Most of the people we work with, I mean, a lot of us are optimists and we think things are going along great, but we want to know specifically if where we are spending our money is working. So a few of the metrics that you want to keep track of, and these are metrics as well in many cases that Google is using to track how good your site is, how often they want to send people there, how high you rank for the terms that you want to rank for. Number one is traffic. Traffic is about getting found. If you're getting found, people are coming to your website, that's good. Getting people to your website is good. Even if, say, you're getting people there with your owner and tenant portals, these things help out as well. But what you really want is you want traffic from searches, and you want to be able to track that. I'll talk about how to get these specific metrics a little bit later on. Another thing to think of is time on site. This is one of the things that Google uses, and it is definitely something that you should be using to see if your site is engaging visitors. If it's not engaging, if they're just going there and going away again, both Google is going to discount you, and you can know that your site is not as effective as it could be. And then from your point of view, conversion. Are people coming to your site and calling you and wanting to sign up? Then the site's doing its job. Then you're doing your job. If not, if they're just coming, getting information going, something is wrong. Something is wrong. You're going to have to check that out. So this is why you need metrics. Because if you're getting some leads, maybe you should be getting more leads. Or maybe you're doing just about as good as you can, but you won't know unless it's tracked. The other thing, this is supremely important, why I'm bringing it up towards the top, control your internet assets. And we all think that we're super organized. I can put my hand on any piece of information that I want when I need it. But the reality of the situation is we are quite often overwhelmed. And there are certain things that we do need to get a hold of, or we can lose very easily. A slip of paper with a password on it is very easily lost. So when I talk about your internet assets, I'm talking about your website, your domain name itself, social pages, your access to the social pages, and the accounts that give you access to, like Yelp and Google, other reputation sites. Now, you wouldn't have mission critical paperwork files, and these things I'm talking about here, these assets are mission critical. You wouldn't have them in a storage unit somewhere across town, not know where the key is, not know if the bill is getting paid, not be able to get to that stuff when you need it. And it needs to be the same with the internet assets, because these things are, if they're built correctly, they add value to your company. So the first one, the website, when I say control, I don't just mean have access to the password here. I also want to talk about not being limited by templates or being stuck in a very limited site. Your website has a lot of work to do. It needs to be able to do it all. So you need a website that you have control over. Like, listen, I need to put vacancies on this, or I don't need to. I need to be able to put a plugin that records leads. You need to be able to do that. And having a company that, like, you maybe bought a cheap web page, but they're like, no, I can't do that. No, we can't put in Google Analytics code because, you know, it's especially self-help tools. This is bad. It will not help you. You need to be able to make changes. Either you are going to need to be able to make changes, or the company you hired needs to be able to make changes. Mario, didn't you have something to say about this? Okay,
I
I
do.
guess not.
Yeah. Sorry. No, John.
So
Sorry,
yeah,
I
you
had
need to be
myself
able
on
to make
mute there.
changes to your website.
John, can you hear
And
me?
one of the best ways that you can do that is to have a blog. A blog is not
That's on.
necessarily a soapbox for you to just chat up on and talk about things. You can, of course, but it's a way that you can add pages to your website. You can add content to your website without necessarily involving a programmer. And especially, you know, when there's new legislation out there, something has changed that radically affects what's going on in your rental market. Maybe in Florida, hurricane, out where I am here in California, an earthquake. These are things you can get on and make comments on that and be found for that timely information through a blog more easily than you can in other ways. So your domain name. Your domain, this is the name of your company. This is the address of your company online. And a lot of people, you know, they go with a company that purports to offer them everything, and they rent the domain name from them. You don't want to do that. You want to own that name. You want to have control over that. You don't want somebody to be able, you build up credit for it, and then somebody to be able to hold you hostage. What if that company goes out of business? All of those names get lost. Somebody might buy it and then hold you hostage for that. You don't want that. Buy it, and buy it with a company account. Don't buy it with a personal account. Buy it with a company account so that it's listed among the assets that you have. Because a domain, a URL, the name of your company up there, builds up what's called authority over time. And if you've had your site for a number of years and you get that traffic, you get that time on site, what happens there is then you build up what's called domain authority. And so it has a value. So also buy it for a long period. Yes, they give you the option to every year repay for your URL. Are you planning on going out of business next year? Most likely you're not. So buy it for a long period of time so that you don't have a problem where your credit card, your credit card number gets stolen and it gets changed, and when the auto renewal comes up, you lose your domain name. Or things like that. Things happen. Buy it for a long period. The other thing is, actually, Google and the other web companies, the other search engines, when they're talking about domain authority, which is something that helps you move higher up in the SEO listings, one of the things they take into account is how long you've purchased that for. They don't want to highlight fly-by-night companies. They want to highlight companies that are going to be there for a while, and one of the ways they judge the confidence that a site is going to be around for a while is how long you bought that domain name for. It's not a lot of money. Spend that money, get it. And you can also buy a couple of spares. Just in case something happens, God forbid your main domain name, something happens to it, it's black holed, you lose it, whatever. Have a couple of spares that you can switch stuff over to in an emergency, but don't go crazy. Don't buy 50, 100 domain names. They don't have a value, because now that they've gotten rid of the strictures of just .com or .org, and there are so many different what they call domain suffixes out there, like .management. You cannot prevent your competition from getting good domain names. It is not worth it. If you've got a whole bunch of them, just let them lapse. It is not worth your money. Keep the login info safe, private, and accessible. This goes back to me talking about the go back to me talking about the storage unit. You want to keep it safe, private, and accessible. You have to be able to get to it. You have to make sure that hackers can't get to it. Keep it safe. Be able to have it. Social pages. Social pages are not as important because you probably aren't going to get a lot of leads off the social pages, but they're great for when people are doing their due diligence and for looking like a professional and having a presence online. Also, all of the posting that you do on your social pages, if you connect it correctly to your web page, which I'll talk about later, all of the posting you do gives you credit towards SEO. So what you want to do is you want to create it with a company account. Don't create it with your personal account, or then you're going to get a lot of messages you don't want to get. Don't let one of your employees create it with their account either. You don't want them to control it. You want the company to control it, and then you want to assign an employee to have access to manage it. The other thing you want to do, of course, is keep that login info safe, private, and accessible. You don't want to lose these things. You don't want to have to go running around track it down. If somebody posts something really bad, and this can happen, people could post to your page, and you want to erase it, you need to have that login info safe. And the last is your reputation accounts. You want to gain access with a company account for the same reasons I said before. You want it, this is an asset of the company. Create it with a company account, and have the notifications forwarded to your personal or email. Now, when I say company account, I should explain here, you should probably create an account on your company's web server that's like, you could call it social at bobspropertymanagement.com or whatever. You don't want it to be your account, because when the time comes and you want to have something else that you have something else that you're doing, you want to sell the company, etc., you want to be able to just pass this along and not have people see your email. But have the notifications forwarded to your email, so if they notify you if you get bad reviews, anything like that, some of these sites do that, you want to have that forwarded. And keep it safe, private, and accessible. When the apocalypse hits, I want there to be 3 things left over: cockroaches, your login info, and that guy right there in his bunker. All right, so now to the meat of it, getting found. Everybody wants to be on page 1 of Google. We hear it all the time. I'm showing up at number 10 on page 1. Well, the reality of the situation is there's only one page 1, and that's it. And Google is the only one on that page 1. But you do want to be found for the keywords that you want to be found for. Atlanta property management or property manager or whatever your preferred keyword is. So how do you get there? What are the elements of that page? The elements are the organic section, which is the part where just your normal page would come up without you doing any other work. Local results is the stuff that's next to the map. Sometimes there's a little pin next to it with letters. And pay-per-click. Now, organic is where your traditional website SEO and user experience come into play. When you get a website built, you absolutely have to have SEO, which is search engine optimization, in mind. Not necessarily you, but the company that you work with. I have seen this personally, even with my own clients. It happens. They hire somebody to build a web page, and the web page looks gorgeous. It's modern, it's responsive, maybe it's even mobile optimized. But I have seen it literally that they have not mentioned their town and property management, what they do on the front page, or it's in a picture where Google can't read it. Google, and when I say Google, I also mean Yahoo, Bing, the other search engines. They're like blind people. They can't see pictures. They can't even hear. They can't see videos. You have to type it in their version of Braille, which is the HTML. It has to be put in text. Atlanta Property Management or San Jose Property Management. It needs to be there a couple of times. And there are a number of other things that add up to this, but at a very basic level, you need to speak not just to the people that visit the site, but to the search engine so people can find the site. And the user experience, like I talked about before, you want people to spend some time on your site. You need people to click further into the site, because if you don't do that, if you don't have people clicking further in, you're actually going to get less, you rank lower on search results, because part of what they depend on to tell whether they gave somebody the right result or not. They put in Atlanta Property Management, your website comes up, somebody clicks on it, great, they note that. But if they go back right away, they don't interact with that page, they're like, oh, maybe that wasn't what they were looking for, maybe they went away. But if they click further in, they click to get more information, they play a video, Google notes that, says, aha, I sent them the right thing. Atlanta Property Management, they had the right thing, they're more interested, let me give them some credit for that. That is how you get credit and how you move up on search results. Now that's the organic. The local results are the ones that you see next to maps, and these are becoming more and more popular and more pushed by Google and Bing, etc., because they want to be the replacement for the yellow pages. Nobody uses the yellow pages anymore unless you're a camper and they're using it to light fires. People go to the internet to find these things, and sometimes instead of going to your website, they will go straight to some of these online directories. And the way that you get higher in those online directories is something they call the NAT plus W, but it's very simple. Name, address, phone, and website must be correct and consistent across everything that you do. I talk about YouTube, when I talk about Facebook, when I talk about Yelp, each place, all of these guys, they post your address, they ask for it. So you want it to be these two things, correct and consistent. And when I mean correct, the way that you can do that and make sure that you're putting the real address up there, go to the post office's website, USPS.com. Look up the zip +4 lookup and start typing in your address there. Put in your address, and 9 times out of 10, it will correct it. It will tell you something. In my particular instance, if I put in 320 Foothill Boulevard, Suite 640, it's going to change Suite to STE. It's going to shorten it. Now, what a lot of these online services do is when they want to build up a new online service, they just go to the information supplied by the phone company and supplied by the postal service and add that information. So if you have not put it in the same way the post office thinks it is, there'll be 2 different results. And then Google gets confused and Bing gets confused, and they don't rank you as high as you should. Go in there, check what your address is supposed to be, and put that exact address on every one of these social sites and directory sites that you're involved with. And then pay-per-click. Pay-per-click, you pay them, you get on the front page. It's very simple. But you need to track how much you're paying versus what your results are. Going back to the statistics and tracking, you need to know how much you're paying per lead and per closed deal. Because AdWords may be worth it for you, but it may not be. It's very, very, it's an expensive tool. It can work, but you have to make sure that it's within your budget. Now let's talk about all the other page ones. I already said that there's only one page one, and that's the front page of Google, and Google's the only one on there. And yes, you have something that you want to rank for. Maybe it's, I use Atlanta as my example. It begins with A, so it's early in the alphabet. But there are other things that people are looking up, and not just a little bit, more. If you have 100 people a month looking up property management in your area, you have 1,000 people a month looking up not what you do or not your job title, but their pain points. That's what they're looking up. They're not necessarily looking for a property manager, especially to start with, and especially in the case of self-managers. Self-managers are going to look up, how do I screen a tenant? Or maybe just, how do I get a good tenant? How do I advertise my home for rent? How much should I have for my home to rent? These questions are being looked up many multiples of the amount of time that the word property management is being looked up. You need to be out there, and you need to be found for those titles, keywords. How do you do that? Content marketing is the best method of doing that. And what is content marketing? Content marketing is articles, is forum posts, or blogs, but the important part about them is they're educational. What you want to do is you want to think about your client's pain points. Think about how they look things up, and then get a blog out, get a page out there that gets in front of that and gets ranked for that particular search term. So here's some tips for making these successful blogs. You keep it informative. I said before, educational, informative, same thing, but what I mean in both cases is not salesy. These should not be sales blogs. People don't want to go online and listen to commercials. They get enough of that on television, but they're very interested in getting help for their problems. And let's face it, property management is a tough, tough, tough business. There's a lot of ways that you can get in trouble, and a lot of ways these guys can get sued. So you'd think that explaining what you do, if I tell them how to do it, they're just going to do it. Well, not necessarily, and usually not. There's a reason you have a job. It's because it's something that most people don't want to do. So just keep it informative. and target their pain points. When you are titling these, don't think about it from your point of view. Here's what I mean. An important and very popular subject for blogs would be getting a home rent ready. Now, it's super important. It can help in so many different ways, but virtually none of the people online are looking up the words rent ready. It is the answer to their question, but not the question that they're asking. You have to think of what question they're asking that rent ready is the answer to. Well, what having a house rent ready, what would that do? Okay, so that would reduce vacancy. Well, again, reduce vacancy. That's industry speak. They wouldn't know that. What could it do? Well, it'll help you get a good tenant. How do I get the best tenants in Atlanta? It'll help you have a higher rental rate. How to get the most amount of rent for my home. There are a number of these things that it pertains to, and you have to think of it from the searcher's point of view and title it and target it that way. And always, always, always include your location. Google serves up local information before they serve up national information. Sorry, I said title it from their perspective. They always serve up local information before national information. And this is something that I have had personal experience with. I've looked up something random, went out on the road, and I don't get the stuff that I normally get here in the Bay Area. I get something that is particular to Missoula, Montana, or Jacksonville, wherever I am at the moment. They know where you are. So reputation. Reputation may be the best return on your time investment of anything here, because you could get leads tomorrow. If you bump your reviews up from 2 stars to 5 stars, somebody could see you tomorrow, because these guys that are out there are using Yelp and Google Local like the yellow pages. They may not look up a search. They may go straight to one of these sites and go down the list. And what are they going to do? They're going to start with the people with the highest number of stars. And that could happen tomorrow. If your stars go up today, you can get a call tomorrow. It's the fastest way. Not even Google AdWords acts that fast. So how can you get found? Well, you want to concentrate on the most popular sites. There are many review sites out there, but they're not all worth your time. You want to concentrate on the most popular ones, and usually that's going to be Google and Yelp. And maybe Yelp is not popular in your area yet. They don't work like Google. Google placed it and opened it up for everybody at once. Yelp targets different areas at a time. So if you've got bad reviews on there, you want to get on top of that. If you have no reviews on Yelp, you want to get a couple of good reviews on there. Even if it's not being used now, it's another place to be found. It's another place that you could have some good reviews. But let's face it, property managers don't usually get good reviews. You're not like restaurants. Restaurants' entire job is to be popular with everybody. You need to solicit reviews from the people that are happy, because your job is again, it's not to be popular with everybody. Your job is to make your owners happy, sometimes, unfortunately, at the expense of some tenants. Generally, of course, a good relationship with a tenant means a good relationship with the owner and everybody is happy, but not necessarily. And a good relationship with a tenant sometimes means you never, ever, ever speak to them. They just sent in the rent, nothing ever went wrong, maybe you did a couple of inspections. This person has no real relationship with you, so they're not necessarily going to review you unless something went wrong. So you end up with a lot of bad reviews. So what you want to do is you want to wait until you know that they're happy. Did you just give them the key to their new apartment? They beat out 4 other people to get that apartment? Did you do some emergency maintenance for them? Did you just send back a full security deposit refund? These are the times to solicit reviews. Here's a tip. Google reviews, even in places where it is not as popular as Yelp, are important. Number one, they show up in search results, but number two, they can even be featured in your AdWords ads. So if you're trying to show up for something that you don't normally show up for, and you have your AdWords you have your AdWords ad up there. If you see here, these guys are showing up. They've got their 3.6 stars, and none of the other people that are there on the side with the AdWords account are showing any stars. So if you have, 3.5 or higher stars, you really, really, really want to get that on there, because that is something that will draw people out, will make them want to call you. Social media, I said it before, social media is not super important. It's great for SEO. You're not likely to get leads directly from it, but there's a million of them. Every day it sounds like there's a new social media site out there. So much like with the reputation, you don't want to do every site. You just want to concentrate on a few. Concentrate on the big ones, the ones that are going to produce for you, ones that align with what you're going to be able to show. For instance, Pinterest, Instagram, very, very popular right now, but they're all visual based. What is so picturesque about property management? Not really anything. It's a service. You're taking care of things behind the scenes. So I would stick with the big guys, your Google+, your Facebook, your Twitter. Let's face it, your audience in most cases is older anyway and is not on the newest, hottest social media site. It's probably on one of the older ones, one of the more staid ones. And some of you may have heard that Google Plus is going by the wayside. They're calling it Google Streams now, and it may eventually go by the wayside. This is true. However, posting an activity on Google Plus, since it is owned by Google, is worth way more SEO value than doing it on Facebook or Twitter. And if you go with something that allows you to post to more places at once, you can do it all at once. I'll talk about that in just a moment. The other reason you don't want to do every site is because they need regular activity. Starting an account and then just posting a couple of times and leaving it empty looks worse than not having an account. It needs regular activity, and you should keep that regular activity relevant. Every once in a while showing that there's a birthday or something on the of one of your employees or an anniversary, that's great. But you want to post things that have to do with property management, maybe real estate sales if you do that as well. So when somebody goes to your site, that regular activity says, okay, these guys know what they're talking about with property management and they're involved. PPC is also an option. You can do pay-per-click on Google, but it's expensive. Effective but expensive. We have had some success with Facebook pay-per-click campaigns. You can now do YouTube pay-per-click campaigns. If you guys are putting out videos, it can be a very, very attractive option. It is less expensive, and it does get some results. Capitalize synergy. I tried very hard to think of the most crappy business speak I could, and that's it right there. And what I'm talking about here is, like I said with Google+, if you post on Google+, you get benefit to your SEO. If you connect your NAP+W, your name, address, phone number, and website on these sites, it will give you credit on your, or for your, give you credit for your SEO. The other things that you can think of as well is, if you are posting vacancy videos, post those on a YouTube page. That's connected to your business profile on Google+, so you get credit for it. You can even, there are tools that work with Synergy. We use a tool called Hootsuite, and that allows us to post once and have it post on Facebook, Twitter, and Google+, along with others if we wanted it to. So we're only taking the time to post once, and yet we get the SEO value from all of them. So you want to capitalize on the connections that the web makes available. All right, so that's talking about how to get found. Getting found is fine, but if they're not calling you, then that's not getting you any business. You're just spending money. You're not earning anything. So let's talk about getting contacted. And getting contact, a lot of that depends on websites that close business, that don't just advertise your business, but that help you close business. One of the ways, and one of the major ways that happens, is by having and hosting a landing page. Now, a landing page is unlike the other pages on your website. It's sort of a one-way thing. You want people to come to it, and you want to set it up for specific people. For instance, in this case, incoming leads, possible new owner management contracts. You come in and you speak directly and only to those people. The homepage of your website, which many people send their Google AdWords campaigns, etc., is more like a traffic cop. The idea there, a good homepage, is going to get your attention and then send you off in the right direction. But so necessarily it's going to have a number of ways out. It's going to have a place for current owners, a place for current tenants, a place where tenants can see maybe the vacancies that you have available. You don't want that actually. And it's great for SEO. Somebody comes in and goes deeper, like I said before. But in the case of leads, if you're sending it from your Google AdWords campaign, you know that most likely, if you're doing that campaign right, or you've hired a good company, that this is an owner lead. You want them going right to their page, a page that has no escape other than giving you a phone call, hopefully to a sales-only line, or filling out a lead form. And to do that, you need calls to action. And calls to action work when you're talking specifically to who you know you're talking to, specifically to these leads coming in. Give a little deal, first month's management free, et cetera, just a little something to make them want to either call or click here for a free ebook, how we manage your apartment. These are calls to action. They call out for people to actually fill out a lead or give you a call. You need to track it again. You need to track it because you want to know if you are, because you're paying for these leads, Google's going to tell you how many clicks you got, how many people saw, but then how many come to your website, and then how many call you. So tracking is super, super, super important. And there's a lot of tools to do it. Google Analytics, AdWords Analytics, YouTube Analytics, Custom Analytics. Everybody has analytics now. Google Analytics is great. You have this installed on your site. One of the reasons you need to be able to control your site and decide what's on there or not on there. And that'll tell you where people come from, where people go to, what clicks are working for you. AdWords Analytics is going to tell you how many people saw your ad versus how many clicked on your ad. It even has some capabilities to see where they go after that. YouTube, how many people have watched your videos, how much of the video has been watched. Moment by moment, you know how much of the audience you're retaining. And there's custom analytics. You can buy custom analytics from any number of companies. A lot of them will coordinate and add these different analytics together and be able to put them into one nice report for you. So one of the easy ways, though, is trackable forms. There's plugins for websites. There are pages that you can rent, meaning you can rent space on specific companies that build landing pages for people, and they'll have trackable forms so that you know, okay, I know because of AdWords Analytics that this many people saw my ad and this many people clicked on my ad to this page, and so now I see how many people filled out a form. And also, you can purchase or rent phone numbers that are also trackable and even, and this is great, recorded. At our company, we're listening to our calls each day, calls of our clients as well. We do it on behalf of them. So we can go, say you're a broker owner and you've got people answering the phones for you and you want to hear what they're doing. You want to hear if they're missing opportunities. I have heard people, someone calls in and says, hey, is this Atlanta Property Management? And say, oh, no, Atlanta Property Management's down the street. This is Bob's Property Management. Instead of saying, well, we manage properties in Atlanta. Is that what you're looking for? They just threw that lead out the door. These little things, you don't necessarily know what's happening unless you're tracking, unless you're recording. So, getting contacted. That's talking about getting contacted, which is all great, but leads don't make you money. Contracts make you money. Getting the deal. To get the deal, you want to have a good sales process. You want to make sure that everybody that has some sales exposure within your company is doing the same thing and making sure you've got a quality sales process that makes sure that you don't just hook them, you land them. That's my business partner Alex, this lovely fish he got recently. He doesn't like catching fish, he likes getting them in the boat. He's a salesman, he knows that. So, what's a sales process? Well, we have a sales process that we promote, that we like using. It's what we use ourselves, and it consists of 4 stages. Stage 1, discovery. Stage 2, presentation. Stage 3, close that deal. And if necessary, stage 4, following up. Here's what I mean. Stage 1, discovery. When you get a phone call, very often the call comes in and the question is, hey, I want to know your fees. Well, you don't necessarily just answer that question. Think of it this way. Most of the people that are calling in don't really know what you do for a living. All they think is, oh, they collect the rent, I got to pay them a certain percentage, I want to know what percentage that is. So you want to turn this question. You want to turn it from answering a question to having a conversation. So an easy way to do that, when they ask you, what are your fees? Well, that depends on what you need. What problems are you having right now? People, the reason they're calling is because they have a problem. Find out what those problems are. Dig. Keep peeling away. Dig and let them talk, and you keep your mouth shut. And let them tell you how to sell them. You probably have a spiel that you go through each time sales, your sales talk. That's gonna work sometimes, but what's always gonna work is helping people solve their problems. So listen to them, find out what their problems are, write it down on a little piece of paper next to you, and then when the time comes and they have nothing more to say, it's time for your presentation. When you present to them, you present to them what they need, what they want to hear. Again, don't just go down your normal sales talk. If there's elements in there that they don't care about, they're not, again, it's going to lose them. You want to go down that list of problems that they had and tell them, you said that you've got a terrible client in your house right now and they're not paying rent. Well, here's what I'm going to do. Here's what we can do. We can get rid of those guys, send them a 3-day notice, we'll get them evicted. We're going to screen this next 10, we're going to advertise, we're going to clean that house up, and we're going to get a guy. Tell them what you're going to do based on what they need, not what you think is your best features. Because it may be an awesome thing that you do, but if they don't need it, it's just something that they're paying money for that they don't need. That is not a bonus to them. Stage 3, close the deal. Always have a next step. And at the end of each of these calls or contacts, you should be setting up a specific date or a specific action to take place next. Okay, thank you for calling in. You've got that property. How about we go see that property on Tuesday at 5 o'clock, or whatever time that they're available or you're available. Set a time and date to do that. Have a time for them to come into the office. Send them a lease agreement. Say, hey, why don't you look over this lease agreement? I will call you in 3 days to check up on that. Close the deal. Don't just let them slip away. And one of the things you want to do is you want to make sure, well, again, that you're getting them in the boat, but you want to make sure that you follow up. And what I mean by this is 2 different methods, right? Not methods, 2 different categories of following up. Number 1, you have a phone call with them, you want to follow up via email. Thank you for talking to me today. And one of the things that you can do is, if you have blogs, those educational blogs, and this is something that we definitely do and some of our most successful customers do, you've got that list of pain points from the call sitting right there in front of you. You've got a list of blogs that you've done. If you've got a blog that corresponds to one of those pain points, thanks for talking with me today. Hey, remember that eviction problem that we were talking about? I've done a blog on eviction, what goes into that? Email that to them. Follow up. Because one of the people we work with, Jordan from Lead Simple, has told us they did a study, and they found that 50% of prospects do not sign until after the 6th contact. And yet, most salesmen stop speaking after the 4th contact. You have to keep calling and you have to keep getting in touch with them until you get the result that you want. Now, this doesn't mean call them every day. If you have these blogs, you have a drip campaign, you have an email campaign, maybe you call them for a while, they were ready to talk to you when they called you, but they're not ready to make a decision. Put them into your drip campaign, keep in touch with them. One of the things that we talk about with our clients is you need to answer the phone right away. When we're talking about this sales process, one of the most important parts is answer the darn phone. Because you have, I believe it is, you've got a 90% chance of closing that deal if you answer the phone right away. If you call them back within the first hour, it drops to 50%. If you call them after the first day, it drops to 10%. Think of it this way. If they're calling in or they're typing in to your lead generation system or they're calling into your office to talk about this, they want to talk about property management right now. Right now, they're in the mood for it. Maybe they have a property, maybe they didn't get the rent this month, and if you call them tomorrow, maybe the check came in. Now they're sure, we're fine now, we're going to get that check on time every month. So you want to answer right away, but maybe that check did come in, but maybe it's not going to come in next month. You want to follow up, and you want to be there, and you want to be at the top of their mind when they have problems again. Following up is perhaps the most important part of this process. So these are the 3 steps. Get found. If you're not found, you're nowhere. Getting contact is getting your money's worth, getting the deal. It's making sure that you get the highest value out of every lead that comes in. So, some final thoughts. Keep in mind that some of this stuff you can do yourself, but sometimes you're going to want to hire an expert. AdWords campaigns can be very complicated. You don't necessarily want to go with one of those services where you set up your own website. Hire somebody that can do a good job on that. So it's one of the things to keep in mind that, you know, your clients, they probably could manage their own homes, but they probably should hire an expert. Think that yourself when you're looking for management stuff. Keep in mind your limitations. Well, that's all I have. Thank you very much. I will hand it back to Mario, and we can answer your questions.
All right, so hopefully everyone can hear me now. If you all cannot hear me, please drop me a quick chat message. I had a little technical hiccup earlier. I apologize for that. First of all, thank you for an excellent presentation, John. That was certainly a lot of information.
Yeah.
And we are going to have a recording of this webinar that will be available to you if you all want to go back and look at certain areas. Then that'll be available on our YouTube channel and probably some other places as well. I mean, for me, one of the big takeaways is that certainly he gave you all a lot of impressive tools that you can use to increase your business. And the question that for each of you is, do you really have the time to do this yourself? Some people might, and that's great if you're first getting started. But if you've already got a business to run and you want to focus on what's making you the most money, get in front of prospective clients, then that's where PropertyBoss and 4.5 can come in. We can give you a great looking mobile-friendly site to where if people are looking for property management, we, with the assistance of 4.5, can make sure that you're ranking highly, that you're getting in front of the prospective customers that you want to be in front of. And then using some of the techniques that John outlined, now when they're contacting you for property management services, you can have that conversation that leads to getting a new client. So certainly we and 4.5 are happy to talk with you about that. As we put on the invitations you all received, each of you that attended is eligible for a complimentary website audit. So contact us if you'd like for us to take a look at your site and see what we can do to increase your presence and help get you in front of more people. And then certainly 4.5 is there to talk to you about the other things that they can do that are very specific that somebody in the property management space might not have the time or the willingness to really want to dig into, and certainly they can give you some options on how they can help. You all are going to receive a survey at the end of today's session. Please do take the time to let us know how we did, how we can improve, and future topics that you'd like to see on webinars. For us, client feedback is one of the most important things to our business, so anything that you can share would be immensely helpful. So thank you all for your time. Thanks again to John for an amazing presentation.
Thanks for inviting me.
I hope you all have a lovely day.